The bell rang sharply across Lincoln High, echoing through the long corridors like a warning. The students dragged their feet toward their classrooms, carrying their usual chatter, laughter, and gossip. But that morning, something was different. There was a buzz in the air, a rumor. "We're getting a new homeroom teacher," someone whispered. "She's supposed to be young, fresh out of college, probably another pushover," sneered Ryan, the self-proclaimed king of room 10B. His gang, Mason, Tyler, and Jenna, laughed, as if they already owned the new teacher before even meeting her. The classroom was loud, desks half broken, graffiti on the walls, and sunlight cutting through the dusty blinds. Ryan sat on top of a desk near the window, chewing gum, his shoes tapping rhythmically on the metal frame. "I bet she won't last a week," Mason said, cracking open a soda. "They never do." The laughter grew. That was their sport, breaking new teachers, making them cry, quit, or both. The door opened quietly, and the class fell into a hush. She walked in, tall, poised, and graceful, a white blouse tucked neatly into dark slacks, her hair tied back in a low ponytail, and a calmness that didn't fit the chaos of the room. She placed her books on the desk without a sound. Her name was Ms. Alina Carter, 26, first-year teaching, eyes soft but deep, with something unreadable behind them. "Good morning," she said with a small, polite smile. "I'm your new homeroom teacher. Let's start with roll call." Her voice was calm, not too soft, not too firm, but to Ryan, calmness was weakness. He smirked and leaned back. "Yo, miss," he said loudly. "You sure you're old enough to teach? You look like you should be sitting in the back row." His friends burst into laughter. Alina didn't even flinch. She simply looked at him and replied, "And yet, I'm the one taking attendance." Her tone was cool, too cool. That threw him off for a second. She began calling names. "Jessica Turner, here. Daniel. Cook, here." The rhythm of her voice filled the room like a quiet melody. Then, "Ryan Blake." "Right here, miss," Ryan said, exaggerating a salute, grinning at his friends. Mason whispered something, and they both snickered. "Tyler Grant." "Present and ready to be taught, Miss Carter," Tyler said, trying to imitate a soldier. More laughter followed. Alina simply wrote something down in her notebook and continued. But when the laughter didn't stop, she finally looked up. Her eyes scanned the room, and for the first time the students saw a faint glint of something sharp in her gaze. "Since you're all so enthusiastic," she said softly, "why don't we start by talking about respect?" That single word, respect, fell like a stone into water. The laughter died down slightly, but Ryan wasn't done. "Respect? You gotta earn that, miss," he said, his tone mocking. Mason added, "Yeah, not just walk in here and expect us to bow or something." Tyler chuckled. "She probably reads those self-help books for teachers, How to Handle Difficult Students 101. Alina didn't answer immediately. She looked down at her roll sheet, took a slow breath and said, "You're right. Respect is earned." Then she looked up again and smiled. "And I'm patient." That small smile, calm, confident, irritated Ryan. No fear, no nervousness. She was too composed. He stood up and walked toward her desk, pretending to stretch. "So, Miss Carter," he said, leaning on her desk, "you really think you can handle this class?" Mason joined him, stepping closer, smirking. "We've had 5 teachers quit in 1 semester. You'll probably be number 6. Tyler laughed. "She doesn't even look like she can raise her voice." Jenna, sitting in the back, rolled her gum and said, "She's kinda cute, though. Shame she's about to cry soon." But Alina didn't cry. She looked up at Ryan, meeting his gaze directly. "You seem proud of making people quit," she said quietly. "That means you must be very good at losing people." The words cut, sharper than she intended. The class murmured. Ryan's jaw tightened. "What did you just say?" he muttered. "I said," she repeated softly, "that bullies often push people away before realizing they're already alone." The class went dead silent. For a split second, even the clock seemed to stop ticking. Ryan's pride burned. He'd been insulted by a woman who was supposed to be scared. He grabbed her attendance sheet roughly and threw it on the floor. "Watch your mouth," he said. Mason laughed, but he was nervous now. Alina looked at the paper on the floor, then back up at Ryan. "Pick it up," she said calmly. Her tone wasn't pleading. It was an order. That shocked him. "You're serious?" he sneered. "You're lucky I don't—" He paused, glancing at his friends, then grinned wickedly. "You want me to pick it up? Fine." He leaned down, but instead of picking up the sheet, his hand shot forward and tugged the edge of her blouse. It happened fast, a quick pull, fabric tearing slightly at the shoulder seam. The sound of it, rip, echoed horribly loud. Gasps filled the room. Alina stepped back, her hand instinctively going to her torn shirt. The white fabric had ripped slightly, revealing the faint strap beneath. For a second she froze, not from fear but disbelief. A sharp sting of humiliation rushed through her. Ryan stood there smirking, holding the torn thread like a trophy. "Guess you need a new dress code, miss." The class erupted in half-shocked, half-nervous laughter. Mason whistled. Jenna covered her mouth, eyes wide. Tyler muttered, "Dude, chill." But Ryan was loving the attention. "What? She wanted respect. Now she's got mine," he said mockingly. Alina's hand dropped from her shoulder slowly. She looked at him again, but this time the softness was gone. Something else replaced it, steel. The same quiet, composed tone returned, but her eyes had turned sharp. "That," she said, "was your last mistake." Her voice was so calm it made the air in the room shift. Ryan laughed. Again, but there was a flicker of doubt in his grin. "Oh, really? And what are you going to do? Call the principal? Cry?" Alina didn't move. "No," she said, "you'll apologize first." The laughter in the room faded, confused. "What?" Ryan said. "You'll apologize," she repeated, stepping forward. "Not because I need it, but because you do." Ryan blinked, taken aback by her words. She walked around the desk, her steps slow, deliberate. The torn fabric fluttered slightly, but she didn't care. She looked completely unafraid now, and that was unnerving. "You think you scare me?" he said. "No," she replied, "but I think you scare yourself. You act loud to hide it." Mason's laugh cracked. Tyler muttered, "Damn." The energy had shifted completely. The bullies were no longer in control. Ryan clenched his jaw. "You better back off," he said, stepping closer. Alina's eyes didn't waver. "Back off? No, you crossed a line." He raised a hand as if to push her, but before anyone could blink, she moved. It was fast, clean, controlled. She caught his wrist mid-air, twisted lightly, and in one smooth motion turned his own momentum against him. Ryan stumbled forward, hitting the edge of a desk with a loud thud. Gasps exploded across the room. Alina released him instantly and stepped back. Her stance wasn't aggressive. It was balanced, almost graceful. "You'll apologize," she said again, voice steady. Ryan groaned, trying to get up, clutching his wrist. "You broke my— What the hell?" She didn't respond. The silence was crushing. Even Mason didn't move. "I warned you," Alina said softly. "Now you'll remember to think before you touch anyone again." Tyler gulped. You know how to fight?" Alina didn't answer. She straightened her shirt calmly, fixing her torn sleeve as if nothing had happened. "Let's continue roll call," she said simply, walking back to her desk. The class sat frozen. Even the clock seemed afraid to tick again. Ryan sat there, face pale, clutching his arm. The humiliation now belonged to him. No one laughed. No one spoke. Even Jenna looked down, biting her lip. Alina picked up the attendance sheet from the floor, dusted it off, and resumed reading names. Mason Green. Silence. "Present," Mason muttered weakly. "Tyler Grant. Here," he said, eyes low. "Ryan Blake." The room went dead quiet again. Alina looked up, meeting his eyes. Ryan hesitated, swallowed, and finally said, "Here, ma'am." She nodded once, calm as ever, and marked his name. The sound of her